Which falls count anywhere.
Let me talk to you. Yeah. Talk about your songs. Talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass. You. Yes. You there, sitting at home. Acknowledge me.
But guess who shows up for no reason at all to get his grandstanding and hot dogging in?
Everybody knows that Hulkamania is the strongest force in this universe.
Unlike you, I don't waste all these people's time bitching and moaning and bitching and bitching and bitching.
But I'll say one thing. I am, for one very, very good reason, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
In which falls count anywhere.
All right, new Falls Count Anywhere, a part of the Earnest Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Ernest EJ Christian. As we record this on Tuesday night, June 9th, 2026. Joined here, of course, with my co-host, one-third of the Ruthless podcast, also host of Rob the Genius podcast, my man, Rob the Genius. Rob, what's going on, brother?
Good to be back.
You okay recovering from that Knicks loss last night, brother?
Oh man, it was rough. And look, we had it down to 3, and with under a minute left, I think. And yeah, referees were not our friends.
Referees have been bad this series in general as a whole.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you though, even with everything played last night, if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm still feeling good about things. But I will say this much though: Game 4 is a must-win.
Oh yeah, got one game.
Because you have a new series and a young team feeling more confident going to Game 5. And look, I've said all along, roster-wise, these teams are even. The difference is Wemby. There's no one that can do what Wemby does on the Knicks, and Wemby's special. So if you have to find a way to do what you did in the first 2 games with Wemby and keep him limited, and and hoping other players are not consistent. Like Fox had a great game on last night, but then didn't have a great game 1 and all this stuff. But to me, I'll be honest to you. I think the series may come on in Game 4 because best of 3. I don't see road teams win the entire series. That trend's going to stop at some point between Game 4 or Game 5. So I think it comes down to really to Game 4. Honestly, I think if they win Game 4, even though it was Game 5, they'll win Game 6 at home, and that's crap. So there's that. Anyway, we're here to talk wrestling, of course. And I said earlier on the show that you are part of the Wrestling Podcast, a podcast I do love very much. Shout out to my boys DJ and Jason. DJ was on the show, actually on this show on Sunday, did a podcast together. And you guys had a phenomenal episode on that came out this weekend on Saturday. Check it out on the Share Shot Radio Network, of course. And you guys were breaking down the basically Clash in Italy and some of the things that came out of there, and you guys got into discussion like we did last week on the show, talking about Obafemi and Brock Lesnar and where that thing's going. And the discussion opened up about just the direction and the fans and how they're complaining and stuff. And you guys nailed every point I felt and I've been feeling for years about how wrestling fans are. And I come to terms with the fact that wrestling fans today aren't what they were when you and I were growing up back in the day, because things have changed. And I have to accept that people are going to see things binary. They don't see things bigger picture. They want they want, much like in a society now we live in, where everything is fast and easy, and okay, you want the dopamine hit now, but not think about the broader perspective of where this is going. We discussed on the show last week about wrestling being stories. You got to tell stories. It's a TV show at the end of the day. Having said that, I have a question for you, Rob.
Yes.
Living in 2026. Is there any way to satisfy the modern day wrestling now? Like, is there any way to find a happy medium where fans like us, older fans that are disciplined in certain ways, versus the younger fan who wants the dopamine hit now? Is there some way to satisfy modern wrestling fan, or we just fucked either way?
Yes, I think there is. I don't know how familiar you are with the AAA stuff.
I am starting to watch that now. And people tell me you need to watch that when it comes on YouTube.
Yeah,
It's worth it.
and because they just had, I mean, they just had the mother of all payoffs, the mask versus mask match with the El Grande Americanos, and that was every bit, that whole story up to that match, and the match itself was every bit the old school style of wrestling storytelling that we grew up on.
Yeah.
Um, so it can still be done. It's just, well, I mean, it has to be good. If you do something good, ultimately, if you do something good and compelling, people will shut up
Yeah.
because, I mean, the Bloodline up to WrestleMania 40 that was almost 4 years, and it wasn't, you didn't, for definitely for the first 2 or 3 years of it, there was not a lot of complaining, and
No.
honestly, there wasn't much real complaining at all. I mean, there were some people who didn't like it when Roman didn't work as many dates, but it didn't. But they, their voices didn't really resonate because when he would show back up, the show would do record numbers.
Yeah, the
Uh,
only complaint you got from that other what you just said there, which is very, very accurate, that not show up for date, and that really happened on the back end of the 4 year reign, honestly.
yeah, it was.
Um,
It absolutely was on the back end. For
but the complaint you heard maybe a little bit to some degree on the early stages, maybe the middle, was more so the okay, can we get someone else get a championship now? There was some okay, this is a little too long now, because again, these fans today, they don't know a world where you had a champion that had a belt for 2 years. A year's one thing. We've had that many times over 1 year champions. That's pretty common for the most part. But 2 years, 3 years, it's very rare we've had that in the last 30 something years. Hulk Hogan was the last guy that did that really in this company in the mid 80s.
Yeah, and but you know what, um, they persevered and they stuck with it. And even though apparently like they had to talk Vince out of a couple of times out of ending it sooner,
Yeah.
uh, but they were able to do that. And like, it's got to be good. There has to be stuff. There have to be compelling things going on in. Because the Bloodline, like there was all type of character development going on all the time, like with Jimmy and Jay and Roman himself, of course, and with Sami Zayn and with Kevin Owens. And then there were, the various people who they fought against, like, I mean, who underwent certain changes along the way. Like,
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre wasn't the same guy at the end that he was at the beginning of it after fighting with them. And, um, then, Solo Sikoa is a different character now than when he started with them. And so, like, there were things going on every week. There was drama, there was interaction between the characters. Um, and no, you don't expect everything to be that, but again, if it's still to this day, if you tell good stories and you put the time and thought into, detail and all of that, and if you stick with it, and if you when there are times when you have to pay something off, if you pay it off right, and you keep people interested, that still works.
Yeah.
It's just that when you're not like when you don't have something going on like that, then people descend into the kind of, well, that's when people get impatient.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and like you just have to, when you have something good going and it's being backed up by business, then you got to ignore the noise because some people are just going to make noise
No matter what.
just as they do. Some people are going to make noise because once the algorithm gets hold of something, you can get reactions and you can get attention and you get traction for making noise.
Mhm.
So some people are going to do that. And you just gotta, I mean, you gotta make something good. And so, you know, because I mean, if you don't have something that's compelling going on, then yes, people are going to complain more. And honestly, I think really ultimately, the complaining gets louder because it's not even necessarily that about, the things that you are doing. It's that you don't have some central thing going on to really grab a hold of people. Because look, I mean, when the mega powers was going on, right? There were other things happening, and some of those other things were really good. Some of those other things were not. But we were all focused on the mega powers and where it was going. When the Dusty and the Four Horsemen, when they were at their, heyday, there were a bunch of other things that were on the show. Some were good, some weren't. But they had the central narrative that grabbed a hold of everybody. And so it's just ultimately, no, no, can you satisfy the art? No.
Yeah.
But the trick is to you're putting on enough product that is doing enough business where those people's voices don't really have any resonance to people who are complaining. And like, I know, I mean, there's a lot of, and also like, where's the complaining coming from, right? Um,
The
because
internet.
well, and that well, here's the thing, right? So with the thing with Brock and Oba, there were people on Twitter complaining that Brock won the second match. Okay, you watch the show, you listen to the reaction in the arena. Those people were not complaining. Those people
No.
were there weren't anybody that there wasn't any groaning. There wasn't any you didn't see people with those look on their faces like, man, what the hell just happened? You didn't see any of that in the arena. Like compare that to like Cena's final match. Okay, compare the reactions in the arena and just like the visible looks on people's faces at the way that ended. Okay, that's the difference. When you get the reaction people had, at Cena's last match, then you fucked up. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reaction in the reaction in the building to when Brock won the match against Ova, that tells you that it was fine. And I mean, to me, when the reaction in the arena when something happens, particularly when you like if you do something where like the heel beats the baby face or whatever,
Right.
that's a more like you know reliable reaction. Like when they did the cell match with Seth Rollins and the Fiend, and the
Yeah.
crowd just shit on the finish.
Oh yeah. I remember 2019. Oh my God, I remember that.
That was real. Okay,
Yeah.
that was real. Right. I remember like way back in 1988 when in NWA they had Lex Luger against Ric Flair and on their first ever early pay-per-views,
Hmm.
and they did like a blood stoppage finish, and the crowd just shit on it because like Luger was supposed to blade and his face was supposed to be like covered in blood, but
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
he just barely kind of nicked himself. So it was like he was barely bleeding, and they did a blood stoppage, and the crowd just shit on it. Right. And so like that's like those aren't, just like that you don't ignore that. That's the kind of thing you don't ignore. That means you fucked up. Um but no, I mean and that's that's what you look for. You don't you look for genuine bad reactions to stuff. Like that's when you fucked up. Or if it's just apathy, if you do something and then the crowd is just kind of sitting there on their hands like, okay, whatever. Right. That's when you know you're fucking up.
Yeah.
But if you do it in the if the reaction in the building is the one that you were trying to get, then it doesn't matter what people say on Twitter, because if the reaction in the building is correct, is the one you're aiming for, then chances are the people who just watch the show on TV, like the people who are not, terminally online, like those people probably are also fine with it.
Right.
Um, like for example, I mean when Brock Lesnar won Money in the Bank, okay, a lot
In
of people,
2019.
yeah, people
Yeah.
on Twitter were livid about that.
But why?
Oh, but I mean, but you listen to the reaction in the building. They thought it was great because he runs out there, he damn near kills one of the cameramen, and and he and he just storms in there and climbs the ladder and throws off Mustafa Ali and grabs a briefcase, and the reaction in the building was like, "Oh, this is great."
The only thing I didn't like about that whole thing was that Seth beat him again for the second time in 4 months. But again, they were trying to put Seth as the guy.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the reaction in the building when Brock grabbed the briefcase was very positive.
Yeah.
When his music hit, the building exploded.
Yeah, remember that? Yep.
And
that was my first year back watching it 17 years, so I remember that's very fresh in my mind.
So again, that means yes, so people on Twitter were mad about it, and and when that happened, you ignore them. But the biggest thing, yeah, just I mean, like you can't worry about satisfying everybody, uh, but you worry about putting on a product that grabs people's attention and compels people to keep watching.
Yeah.
And right now, they have that with Brock Ober right now. And
Here's the thing too. Also, I'm glad you mentioned Brock Ober again. Okay, so the IWC, the people in the IWC who don't like that Ober lost the second match to Brock last week. Okay, let's be clear in mind on this. Okay, Ober beats Brock again for the second time. Now what? Is there still a story? Is there a story there as to what Brock and Ober wins again? Not really.
No, but they don't want that. They just want Ober to beat Brock. They don't want. This is an instance.
But then what they want is good matches and no stories. You're watching the wrong product. Then you should be watching AEW or something else.
Well, I would say they want good matches, but then they also want certain people to be positioned in certain places, and they want certain people to win certain things. And if you're somebody that they think shouldn't be winning anything, or shouldn't, if you're somebody who you think doesn't need to be winning anything anymore, they don't want you winning.
See that, and that thinking is so binary and so limiting. Because here's the thing I go back to: 3 of the 4 guys on most, and I think you and I agree. I think you and I are in the pocket of who were the 4 Mount Rushmore guys, right, in WWE history: Hogan, Austin, Cena, Rock. I think we and I are okay. 3 of those 4 guys took losses regularly in their peak. Hogan being the exception, but again, the business was different back then. Cena took losses in his peak. Austin took a shit ton of losses in his peak, and so did Rocky.
Yeah.
So it's not like we haven't seen this before with top guys, because that's part of the story.
And Ric Flair, when he was NWA World Champion, he took it was a regular thing for somebody to pin him in a tag team match, or a non-title match, even to put some intrigue into the title match that they were going to have, or somebody would pin him in like Ricky Morton in the Rock and Roll Express, pin him in a tag team match, and then came out and challenged him for a world title shot, like because I'm doing the match, that means I can beat you. So it's not uncommon. Again, like every now and then, like Hogan was probably maybe the last of the invincible world champions, like Bruno.
Correct.
Who just didn't lose.
I would say Warrior to extent also Warrior for that 9-month reign.
Yeah.
Warrior didn't take a lot of losses, to be honest, in general.
Well, yeah, I mean.
So but Hogan was the last real big one of the top of line guys that took losses, that didn't take any much losses. Certainly not in clean ones. Certainly not clean ones.
Yeah. Because I mean, but like you said, Austin took losses, Rock took losses, Cena took losses. Roman, before he became a tribal chief, took a lot of losses.
Yep.
but I think again, like I said last week, some people are looking at this like they're a general manager of a sports team or something, and they're looking at it like, if you have Oba lose to Brock, that's going to kill all of Oba's momentum.
That
And
makes no sense. I mean, one thing if he's losing to Chad Gable. I'm not telling Chad Gable, but there are levels there.
yeah, he shouldn't
Oba,
be
Chad Gable. That's different. We said this on the podcast last week on the show. Look at Brock Lesnar. Look at him. Like, it's kind of obvious that guy means something. That guy can win matches against anybody in that business. Like, if you don't believe that, then you're watching this thing wrong.
Right. And again, it's like, I made the GM analogy because, like I said this on the Malice Wrestling podcast, there are some GMs who are just too clever, and they want to trade everybody before they turn 30 because
The Bill Belichick thing.
well, because they have charts and graphs that prove that players start to physically decline when they hit like 28 or 29 years old, and
Right.
their true peak is at 27. And this is like sports science kind of stuff, and therefore you shouldn't be giving a big contract to somebody who's over 30, and so you try to trade
Right.
them, and blah, blah, blah. And there are some GMs who take that to heart way too much, and they try to do it all the time.
Right.
And some of these people on Twitter, that's what they sound like. And because basically, well, Brock is 48. Brock has already won X number of championships. Brock has already won X number of big matches. Brock doesn't need to win anything anymore. And also, a lot of people like we have talked ourselves into Brock retiring at SummerSlam. Like, I'm going to keep saying this. He has not hinted at it. There are no rumors from anyone close to him. We have talked ourselves into this because it's in Minneapolis.
Well, that and Meltzer saying that way back when that's the plan. But of course, Meltzer's word is as good as.
Yeah, I mean,
we can fill the blank there.
Well, Dave repeats what people tell him, right? So, yeah, I'm sure there are people inside the building at TKO who believe that because it all lines up and it all makes sense. But I can also promise you there are people at TKO who damn sure do not want him to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's still a big deal. He's still a big draw. Yeah, I promise. Look, if you ask the people if you ask Nick Khan, you ready for Brock to retire? He would tell you, hell no.
Hell, I don't want to retire. I'm a Brock Lesnar stan, bro. I love Brock
I'm here
Lesnar.
for.
So.
I mean, I like the spectacle that he brings and the aura that he brings to everything and all of that. Yeah, I mean,
I'll say it again. I've been saying for the last 7 years since I've been podcasting on wrestling again. Wrestling is better if Brock Lesnar's around. End discussion.
Yes, and but there are people who, again, they think that he's been around long enough and that he's won enough things, and they've convinced themselves, they've talked themselves into believing that, oh well, he's definitely retiring because SummerSlam is in Minneapolis, so they think that however much longer he wrestles, that he should just put people over, and I can remember because remember earlier before him and Oba got started, people were thinking that Gunther was going to retire him in Minneapolis, and off of no evidence at all other than, well, Gunther's retiring people and SummerSlam's in Minneapolis, so that means, oh well, they're probably going to have Gunther retire Brock in Minneapolis. And where did you get that from?
Exactly.
How did you come up with that?
You know where I got it from, buddy? $12.99.
Well, yeah, and yeah, probably.
And what we've said in the years for the last couple of years is you could put that 29 towards Rob's comic book collection instead of doing towards Mr. Meltzer's thing. You know what I
mean? Yeah, because exactly. And here's the thing. Now, Dave, somebody told him that. Somebody who works there insinuated that to him, or he might have just done his own deductive reasoning and come to that conclusion the way that a lot of other people have.
Yeah.
We have no idea. No, look, he very well may do it, right? I mean, but if he's not done, what y'all gonna say? I mean,
Exactly. And plus, like you said, he's not gonna get the Kobe retirement. He ain't getting the 1 year retirement tour. That's not happening, bro. That's not who he is.
Yeah, he's not that guy, and he's not a sympathetic figure, right? Like people
Exactly.
are not nobody's gonna be crying in the stands at the end of his last match, right?
Oh, but I gotta say though, if WrestleMania was let's revisit this real quick. Had you been correct on the whole WrestleMania being his last match, and we believe that, which by the way, in hindsight, that would have been a perfect setup to do it the way they did like that against Oba, leaving like that.
Oh yeah,
that's the way they done it. I wish they didn't do that angle like that because of the fact that was actually perfect the way he did it at WrestleMania this year. Unfortunately, 2 weeks later, however long it was, he's back in the ring again. First off, he came back too soon anyway. Number one, that thing has to be gone for. Let that cook for at least a month or two, not 2 weeks. Come on, bro.
Well, it was. It was after. When was it? It was about 4 weeks because it was after Backlash. It wasn't. So Backlash was like 3 weeks after WrestleMania. So
okay. You see, again, that calendar is so squishy. It's so tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me 3 months. This goes back to dealing with fans, though, with online fans in particular. Like Brock the heel, he's supposed to do things that piss you off.
Yeah.
And so him, doing the whole sentimental, retirement thing, and then going home and saying, "Man, fuck that."
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what somebody like him is supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's not supposed to walk away gracefully because that's not his character. Brock Lesnar never walked away gracefully. So why? I mean, he did something it's entirely within his character to do. And so, and we're getting good television out of it.
Mm-hmm.
This has been great stuff. If you stop trying to, play general manager, and I'll also say, okay, because these people, again, I saw some people on Twitter who literally wanted Oba to come out the night after WrestleMania and challenge Roman for the title and win the title right then and there. The night after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you supposed to do after that? And well, he'll just be champion, and then he'll beat everybody for a while. Really?
Yeah, exactly.
How quickly will you get tired of that? Even if he wins the SummerSlam, how quickly will you get tired of that? Right? I mean, personally, I wouldn't have him win the title until WrestleMania. Because, that's what WrestleMania is for. WrestleMania is to give people like him their big crowning achievement.
Correct.
It wouldn't be the same if he was just defending the title at WrestleMania. That's not the same thing, right? Or trying to win it back, right? That's not the same thing. And because remember, he's 28 years old. All right, between if he does not get injured, if he doesn't have any health problems, and if he doesn't get offered a gazillion dollars to go make movies or something, he's going to be around 15, 20 years.
Yeah. And of those 15, 20 years, at least 10 to 12 of those years, he can be a top guy without and week to week television, like Roman. I'm following the Roman cycle and what he did. Be on TV for at least 12, full time.
Yeah, the last the last few years will be like, he'll be part time, like Taker was or whatever.
That's fine.
Yeah, when he gets close to the end of however long he goes, he's going to be doing He's going to be a part timer. But we got a good 10 to 15 years where again, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a full time, every week top level guy, and So you need to tell stories. You can't just have him beat people and win stuff for 15 years. Okay, the Undertaker, the most unbeatable character maybe in the history. Post Hogan, Undertaker is like the most unbeatable, invincible character, and he got beat plenty of times.
Mm-hmm.
He got beat a lot. Okay.
Yep. No doubt about that. All I'll say, and we'll close out here on this topic. All I can tell WWE at this point is obviously you do want to at least, it's okay to check on what people are saying, feedback, the comments, IW's Twitter, whatever it may be. But don't get married to it. Don't get paralyzed by the comments. Also, to take a little bit of that, but also understand that most of those comments are just either A, bots, or B, people who are just going to bitch no matter what. And at the end of the day, believe in your writers, believe in your storytelling. You're telling the story. It's up for us whether or not we are going to stick around and watch it play out. And that's all you can do. If you keep catering to the IWC, you won't have a clear vision. At that point, just hire them to be your writers at this point. You know what I mean? Just stay the course and believe in what you're doing. You guys know the business better than these guys than we do. So stay the course. All I can tell you. Don't get hung up on the IWC what they're saying, man, because at the end of the day, Triple H, you've been in this business for over 40 years, 30, 40 years. All these writers, all these, Pritchard and all those guys, you guys know what's going on. You guys know the business. You guys know the markers. Don't confuse it. Don't try to confuse the whole thing. You know what the deal is. You know what good stories are. And that's all I'll say about that. So, all right, next topic here. This is the interesting one. So, and there's a little flashback here to an old era. As you know, 1990, interesting year in the WWE. That was the year Ultimate Warrior became world champion, defeating Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6. Now, I love these what if or topics too, because it does give us a little bit of insight into what could have been, But my question to you, Rob, is had Ultimate Warrior not existed in 1990 and become world champion at WrestleMania 6, looking at the way things were booked around that time, and look at who was in the company at the time, who could have replaced Hulk Hogan as a top dog in 1990, not named Ultimate Warrior? There's a couple of guys you can look at. How would you booked it? And let's discuss who would have done it and how would you booked it and all stuff. Who in your mind could have been someone? I'll give you a couple of guys you want to, and we'll debate it.
Okay. Now we just simply are we talking about people who were already there?
Yes.
In the company.
Yes.
Only?
Because I know it's easy to say, well, this is bringing Sting from WCW.
Oh yeah, because the obvious answer from outside the company was Sting.
That'd be Vince giving money to Sting, but let's not do that because I think that's the easy call.
Okay. Yes. But that is the most obvious answer.
Yeah.
Period.
Warrior's tag team partner. Steve.
And also, basically, he was Warrior without all the Warrior's problems.
Correct.
For all intents and purposes. He brought you, the good things that Warrior brought to the table, minus all the problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Man. All right.
And I think this is hard. I think this is tough. I want to see where you're standing at. I have a couple options, but let's see your stand up first, and I'll run with you.
Okay. Give me a name. Or do you have names? Or are we...
Okay, so look at the business of 1990. Let me start it off real quick. Okay. There are guys that were red hot in 1990, but the question is, and I think what makes it complicated too also is that if you're going to do this, here's the issue with this. Vince at this point in 1990 had a formula. Okay, there was a formula. My champion had to be a superhero.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? This is not, people always say, well, you can get it to DiBiase, you can get to this guy. And if we're talking 1997, 1998, absolutely, without question, you can do that because the booking changed. The way that the business changed.
Yes.
In 1990, the WWE was still a cartoon. It was still a cartoon, It was still Hulk Hogan, the Real American. So the only guy, Warrior really is the only guy you can think of, but I'm trying to unpack options here.
Okay, because all right, so remember, all right, because Hogan was a superhero, but also that was like, with the exception of Bob Backlund, that was the model. Like Bruno was a superhero.
Correct.
Pedro Morales was a superhero. It was more geared towards the Hispanic community,
Mm-hmm.
but for them, he absolutely was. Uh, and Bob Backlund was not really, but so 3 out of 4 in the WWF,
Right.
that was the model. Okay. So and that was of course that was the thinking with the Ultimate Warrior. He looked like the next in line.
He wasn't quite the Hogan superhero, but he was still a superhero though.
But I mean, he as far as the aesthetic and the
Yes.
energy and all of that,
The face paint,
he fit the model of the next superhero. This guy was going to be the next one.
He was Thor.
Yeah. So the question is, who was there? Because remember, well, another thing is, okay, if you don't have the Ultimate Warrior there, because remember, all right, the Mega Powers thing ended in 1989,
Correct.
and then, but of course, the kind of the future of that was, once that ended, was to set up Hogan and Warrior. So if there's no Warrior there, first of all, what do you do?
The Savage stayed a good guy beyond that. They stretched that story out and they never split. You know what I'm saying? There's a world where that couldn't happen. It wouldn't exist.
Yeah, like does Hogan win the tournament at WrestleMania 4 and just get the belt back and keep going?
Yeah, and Savage gets the IC championship at some point, and they keep that stretching it out a little longer. There's an option. The problem is that Savage, if you take it for what it was going to WrestleMania 6, here's the issue. For Savage is the only capable guy of doing it again. The problem is there was not enough distance between him turning heel in February '89 and WrestleMania 6. Especially the way he did it. Especially the way he did it with pushing around Liz and all this bullshit. You couldn't. It was just too soon to turn Savage back to a babyface. Too soon.
And also by that point, like he was kind of cooked at that point because Hogan had beaten him like a drum since WrestleMania 5.
Right.
And so you'd have had to rehabilitate him just as far as his standing.
And there's a way to do it, Rob, for the record. There's only one way to do it, though. The only way you could do it was rehabbing him is bring Liz back. But it had to be a story in there. I'm sorry, Liz. I'm sorry for pushing around, that kind of thing. But the problem is with that is that it was too soon. Like you need that extra year WrestleMania 7 when he got retired to do that story.
Yeah, and then I mean, because when that, and then also like losing a retirement match, and he looked like extra pathetic at the end of that and all that,
Right. At the bottom of the bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't quite there yet at 90. He wasn't quite there.
Yeah, you needed the extra year for that to
cook.
But so now who is, as far as who was there?
So here's my list. You want me to throw some at you real quick?
Yeah.
Jake Roberts was hot enough. Here's the issue with Jake though. Jake was just coming off an injury though. Jake was out for at least 9 months prior to, not 9 months, but at least 6 months. He hurt his neck. In the summer of '89, he got back in, I think, around January that year. Him and DiBiase are feuding. Great feud, obviously. Jake Roberts, at this point, after Hogan Warrior, was the biggest babyface in the company. You could have gone that route with Jake, possibly. But you can't do... The problem is you're not going to have Jake and Hogan wrestle at 6, though. There's got to be another way. You have to get the belt off of Hogan somehow before WrestleMania. Put Jake in a feud with someone, and then make that happen.
Now, Jake, of course, had some off the field problems.
And there's that part.
Yeah, that's the other part of it is because they were going to do a feud between Jake and Hogan back in like '86.
'86, and they ex-nayed that thing real fast.
Yeah, because the crowd wasn't booing Jake.
No.
So, and back then, you didn't change the story to fit. If the crowd didn't react properly, you didn't change things to fit the reaction. Back then, if the crowd wasn't reacting, that was a sign that, okay, we're not doing this.
Yeah. And I'm not sacrificing Hogan for for this. No, not happening.
Oh no,
Ano-
and honestly, that was absolutely the right move. You don't sacrifice Hogan for like a 6 month, you
yeah,
know, temporary love
yeah.
affair. With
Hogan's
Jake.
Hogan's big picture, bro. Let me throw you a name real quick.
Okay.
Another guy was red hot. Rob Brutus, Brutus Beefcake.
Oh man. Okay.
So let me sell you this real quick. He was ready to team with Hogan in '89
Yes.
at SummerSlam, way over. And for the record, he didn't need Hogan Rub to be over. He was ready over.
Yes.
Okay. Now, not great in ring, obviously.
Yeah,
But
but I was
listen,
gonna, the problem with him is that he stunk. And
but no one gave a shit though. He was still over.
well, but if the more you had to put him out there, it's one of those like when you stink, the more people see you, it it eventually comes
True.
out.
But he was more. But I think the one advantage he did have though, he was marketable.
Yeah, but
At that time
he
anyway.
stunk.
No, I
And
totally agree with you. But he was marketable, and I think so did Warrior. Warrior stunk too, also in ring, but he was marketable. in
that's
a sense.
also part of the reason why he didn't have as much staying power.
Yeah.
I mean,
But you gotta try something, right? Hogan's doing movies. Listen, I gotta do
oh
Mr.
yeah, I
Nanny.
mean, yes, you do. I mean, yes,
Hogan
you
gotta do
gotta
Mr.
try
Nanny.
something.
I get it, but Hogan gotta do Mr. Nanny no matter what. Find someone. But Mr. Nanny's on us. It's calling. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So here's the correct answer, Rob. The
Okay.
correct answer is this. Vince had to open up a semi-long-term heel champion in that era. He would have to remix the whole fucking thing. He would have to stop doing the whole superhero thing. That would have to have ended at that point. Stubborn or not, he would have to end that now because there weren't guys, and this is why I tell you guys all the time, listeners to this podcast, when you give me shit about, Hulk Hogan's overrated, blah, blah. Okay, bet. Find a guy that can do the shit Hogan does and brought to that company, not just in ring, but can I put this person on Regis and Kathy Lee and Arsenio Hall, okay? And to do a NASDAQ, open the bell, and go to the White House randomly. The only guy that even remotely can touch something like that is Savage. And
Yeah.
Savage was booked in the corner at that point in a role as a heel.
Yes.
And you have had to sacrifice the Mega Power story from ending the year before that to get to this point. And you're not doing that.
Yes. I think okay, well, I don't think you could do what they did with him in Warrior. Now, I think what you would have to do is you would have to I think you're right. You would have to establish some type of heel champion, even if it's just for a temporary basis. Like some type of heel champion and to get people mad enough to get behind whoever takes him down.
Yeah.
Because when Bruno lost the final time, he lost to superstar Billy Graham. And he was a heel champion for about like 8 or 9 months, and then Bob Backlund beat him.
Yeah.
I think you'd probably have to do something like that. Now I don't know, and honestly, I know who would have been perfect for that.
Who's that?
Ravishing Rick Rude.
I love that one.
Him giving him like 9 months to a year as the despicable heel world champion, and him still doing the kissing the girls and all that stuff.
You need someone heat. You need someone opposite. A lot of heat. And he had a lot of heat.
And when you do that, then you know what? By that point, you give him a year with that, then you would have had that year to rehabilitate Savage.
Someone. Yeah, correct. Yes.
You'd have had the year to rehabilitate Savage.
Because technically, Rob, they did that 2 years after this when he won a title in '92 against Flair.
Yeah.
Technically, that did happen.
So you would have had time to rehabilitate Savage, and Savage yes, Rick Rude going for a year as the heel world champion with that gimmick. And I guess now the only question is now, what's Hogan doing while all this is going on?
Mr. Natty, buddy.
Well, because I think
Oh,
ultimately,
he'll come back. Yeah, Vince will likely have to go back to the well again if this is not good.
but you know what, and again, and it's just a matter of how much imagination does he have, because you know what,
But
because could have done.
because Hogan already, let's just assume in a world like this, Hogan was already, I won't say he was part time, but he was already at this point taking time off more regularly.
Yeah, and now,
So you got to bake that into also. Hogan can come back and be a champion again, but Hogan's going away. So now, I mean, if you notice this era now from 1990 on, from 91 on rather, Hogan's title reigns are shorter. They're 6 months now or less.
yes, and so if let's say if okay, if we finish the Mega Powers like they did,
Yeah.
and you have Rick Rude beat Hulk Hogan for the title, like after Rude, and then Rude goes on as the heel world champion for a while, and then you have, you know, again, you get that extra year to rehabilitate Savage, and you have Savage take the title off of him, and you know, and then at that point, you know, and we're saying, what do you do with Hogan? Well, then you turn Hogan heel
Ooh.
because
I mean, there was rumors about Hogan turning heel in 90 anyway.
yeah, but that's how you do it, because here's what happens, right? Because people loved Randy, right? Once,
Mhm.
except, you know, the only time they didn't love Randy was when he did the turn, and because he pushed Liz around and everything.
Yeah, he needed without the push and list part. It might not stick as much as you think. That
It
heel
wouldn't
turn.
have, because I mean, like, because he and Hogan had some matches like early in 1986,
Yeah.
and like they had a few matches like on house shows.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't on TV.
I remember that. Yeah.
And but guess what? It had the same problem that him and Jake did. Like people didn't want to boo him, and so they did a few of those, and then they got him off of that. They put Savage on the Intercontinental title, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Too cool for school. They call that.
yeah, I mean, like the only time Savage really got was really hated was when he did the thing with Steamboat and when he pushed Liz around.
That is it.
That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
because he did the thing with Steamboat, and then and then they set him up perfectly because the right person to get sympathy against Randy Savage was Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah.
Because Bruno went off on him,
That was
and
fun.
oh, it was, and
That's fun. That was fun.
yeah,
You sicko.
yeah. I mean, because look, nobody did righteous indignation like Bruno. All right,
Bruno's the man, bro. Bruno's the
yeah,
man.
and so those were the only two times really.
Yeah.
So if you have Savage as your world, Savage takes down Rude and he's your world champion, and then when Hogan comes back, no, those people were not going to be cheering Hogan like that.
There were three guys, Rob. There were three guys, and you're right. What you mentioned one of those guys. And for record, all three guys I'm mentioning who could win a title, Trace Hogan, the top dog, are all heels. Okay, Rude is one. Rude don't leave WWE at this point because he's getting the title. He's not leaving
Right.
WWE to go to WCW 1990, late 1990. Okay, the other two guys, you finally reward Ted DiBiase. He's still a heat man there back then.
Yeah.
And the third guy is perfect.
I just I wonder.
All three guys at that time were heat magnets.
Yeah, I just think by the time we got to like 1990, 91.
DiBiase, you mean?
Yeah, with DiBiase still,
But the Jake feud still kept him hot. You're right. He wasn't as hot as he was in 87, 88,
True.
89. But the Jake feud, I will say, did give him a little bit of a jolt. And then, of course, after that, and to boot, add in the Virgil thing that would happen a year later.
Oh, true.
So he's still pretty hot as a heel. Obviously, I think the reason why it felt like cooled off in 90, I'll tell you why. There was more heat magnets around him that took away the heat. Rick Rude was a heat magnet. So was Perfect. Savage became a heel again.
Yeah.
So there was so many guys doing bad shit that DiBiase didn't stick out anymore by 89, 90 in the same way he did in 87, 88.
So I think we're in agreement here that in order to set things up for some other person to be the babyface champion, you would need to give some heel a run with the belt and build some heat. And because
Yep.
if when DiBiase was at his peak amount of, I mean, him as heel world champion and doing the money gimmick and everything,
Perfect.
and he could even, you could have him pay somebody to take a dive, and then they do it.
Yeah.
You could have him do some shit like that.
And for the record, Vince being stubborn, he can't say like there's no example because NWA, WCW is doing the same thing. Flair was world champion as a heel many times over. So it's not like that wasn't done for the promotions. You can kill them quickly and people. I think looking at the company in that era, honestly. I think that kind of booking might have actually saved that company in that era. It might have kept the business going stronger, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, because it's now I think no matter what you did, I think by 92, 93, they were heading,
But there's an argument that WWE booking was probably kind of boring by 91, 92 because of, again Hogan, again.
Well, because they ran out of stuff to do, and
yeah,
and actually, I also in the early '90s, just the business was that's down cycle because a lot, and because I looked into this today, like after WrestleMania 7, they started just like a huge talent purge after WrestleMania 7.
I remember that.
Because actually, I actually like almost half the people on the WrestleMania 7 card were released or left under some circumstances the next year. Like in '92, there was a big just blowout of people in 1992.
That's when the shift happened. You can argue New Generation era started that year.
Yeah, because they blew a lot of. They got like 1992 in particular. They got like a lot of people.
They kept their top guys, the Rowdies, the Pipers, and the Bretts and the Hogans. The top guys still stuck around, but that pinch happened in the middle of the roster more than anything else than the top.
Yeah, but the problem I think, but they didn't. Well, but the guys that they hoped, like Brett never became Hogan, and neither did Shawn, right? And they were hoping that they wanted Brett and Shawn to be Hogan and Savage. Obviously, that didn't happen.
No, it's different. It's different. It's just different.
Yeah, but I just think there was no, because there are many reasons why that just was not to be, and I think there's any way you avoid that, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, like I said, this is a great question. This is a great what if question here. I think honestly, the answer is there really no answer. Really, the answer is nobody could have done it because Hogan was just that damn good. Yeah, you had to change the entire way you do business, Vince. Unfortunately, to make it for yourself to make it happen. So it is what it is.
Well, the realistic thing that if they absolutely, the only way to do it the same way with somebody else was to go get Sting.
Or go outside the bubble. Go outside the bubble.
To do the same thing they did with Warrior, they'd have to go get Sting.
Exactly. I totally agree with you on that. All right, final topic, and we'll go a little faster because I got to get out of here in about 10 minutes. A game I love to do on various shows on my podcast, with my kids, with my wife on the Friday show, kids on the Wednesday show, and various stuff. This or that. Okay, you pick one or the other, that kind of thing.
All right.
But we're gonna do this or that, the Ruthless Aggression era. All right. Okay. Now I know you and I were kind of in and out. I was out pretty much, but I still know what happened in hindsight, so it's still good enough to do. I have 10 options of wrestlers and shows and different things here, and we'll just debate this or that. Would you prefer? And I guess it's more. If you want to go personal preference, go right ahead. I don't care personal preference or what's better. Whatever, maybe. But here we go. First, this or that. John Cena or Randy Orton?
Cena.
Me too. Cena. Orton is, again, I always say Orton is the Tim Duncan of WWE. Although he's had moments when he was a top guy, it never felt sustained. He's one of the top guys, but never the guy for a long period of time. That was when Cena in that era. You know what I mean? And even such that Brock.
And Orton had locker room issues also. I mean,
That too. So, but Cena also, like I said, Cena's Mount Rushmore guy, so that is what it is. All right, this or that, Batista or Brock Lesnar? This is easy.
Brock.
I'm a Brock stan, bro. I mean, we're wrong. I think I appreciate Batista more now than I ever had, but come on, bro. It's Beast incarnate. You know, come on, Brock Lesnar.
And
all right.
Batista was injury prone also.
He was too. Yeah, he was. All right, this or that, Eddie Guerrero or Rey Mysterio? Ooh, that's a good one. You're basically picking long term versus short term here.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Whose work do you prefer? I'm gonna go Guerrero because even though Mysterio's a better career, and I would say a better career because he's had a longer career and done more probably because he's still alive, obviously. If I'm looking at the better work overall, whether it's short term, long term, Eddie's character is he's actually one of the most endearing characters in the business.
Oh yeah, I mean Eddie is much more compelling television character than Ray ever was.
Right, and then I'm not on Ray, but Ray has a lane. Ray has a pocket.
Yeah,
the lucha stuff, the mask, that's it.
Like we fell in love with Ray because of what he did in the ring.
Right,
and then then the other stuff. Some of the other stuff became more endearing over time. Whereas Eddie was always great in the ring, but it was the character work was just different.
Right. Man. Totally agree. All right, this or that. Now, Triple H or Shawn Michaels, but we're talking specifically 2002 to 2004 rivalry.
2002 to 2004.
Yeah, we're not talking about anything outside of that.
Okay. Oh man.
Because this is, you can argue this is peak Hunter.
I would, for those 2 years, I would take Triple H because, Shawn had just come back and you had no idea how long he was going to be able to hold up. I mean,
this is tough. This is tough.
Well, it's a miracle that he came back, but we've seen people try to come back from injury and they play one game good and then the next game they fucked or whatever, right? I mean, and also, I would say like that second Shawn run didn't really hit its peak until after 2004. I mean, he had the match.
There's a case for that.
After 2004 is when was when the Kurt Angle match was in 2005.
Correct.
The Taker matches were later. The Ric Flair match was later.
You still get Shawn with the championship. You get Shawn still against Jericho at 19. Still.
Yes. All right. Well,
but the problem is, to your point though, is why I'm going to pick Hunter. Shawn is part-time at this point.
That, yes, and then also, Hunter was with Evolution, and that Evolution is what spawned both Batista and Randy, and has also revitalized Rick's career for a few years.
And that's the rub. My rub is Evolution. Evolution is what puts it over the top of me. So it's Hunter for me as well.
Yeah.
So I agree. All right, next one: Edge or Jeff Hardy?
Ooh.
I guess Edge is the easy one, really. He stands out more than anything else. I'll go Edge, obviously, but Hardy had a little run. I know. You told me about this.
I mean, in terms of, all right, I mean, Hardy was more popular, and Jeff Hardy is one of those people, that is, more, people have more kind of, Jeff Hardy's more magical to a lot of people than Edge ever was. But now we're just talking during Ruthless Aggression. I would take an Edge because to me, like the stuff I've watched from both of them during that era, I prefer what Edge was doing.
And that's also peak. That's also peak Edge too. On top of that, so,
yeah.
All right, this is a great one here. This or that: WrestleMania 18 or WrestleMania 19? Oh boy.
Ooh. Okay. I think 19 top to bottom was a better show.
19 has arguably the greatest card in the history of WrestleMania, in my opinion.
Yes.
You literally have 4 eras represented in this card. You have the Golden Era with Hogan back, of course, and Vince and all that. Attitude Era, New Generation Era, and the now new Ruthless Aggression Era, all represented on this card in a big way.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say 19 because the only 19 has, of course, the big glaring, the Triple H Booker T debacle.
Of course.
And there was nothing on 18 that was that disgusting. Okay. But 18, honestly, I mean, if we're talking about like rewatching the show, I mean, there's only one match that you just gotta watch.
Hogan and Rock.
Yeah. I mean, the rest
19.
of those, there are other good matches, but the rest of that card in a pinch,
Yeah.
And
I'll keep it. And I'll keep it simple.
One match I would tell people from
right.
If we're going to WrestleMania cards, and if you're asking me like, okay, well, what matches do people absolutely need to watch, whether they're a fan of the people or not? 18 only has one of those. Whether 19, I would tell you to watch Kurt and Brock, watch Hogan and Vince, watch Rock and Austin, watch Shawn and Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4 right there. I'll tell you that you absolutely need to watch those matches.
And for the record, of the 3 matches they did, Austin and Rock, that's my favorite match of the 3 WrestleMania matches. Even more than Night 17. Personally for me. Not saying it's better than that. I'm just saying in ring, obviously 17 meant it was a little higher powers because of the championship and all that stuff. But 19 for me is my favorite match of the 3 of the trilogy. So that alone puts it over the top. Hogan and Rock is the only thing keeping 18 in the conversation. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. So 19's the answer. I agree with you. All right, 4 more to go. We get out of here. All right, this or that. SmackDown, the Fist Era, or Raw, the Red Set?
Ooh.
I'm going SmackDown. Better product.
Because they had the SmackDown 6 and
6. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And those guys were just putting on banger stuff every week.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'd go Fist Era SmackDown.
Okay. Oh boy, I'm gonna piss you off with this one. Ready?
Uh-oh.
This or that. Kurt Angle or Chris Benoit? I mean, it really is Angle though. It really is. Even if Benoit didn't do what he did, it really is Angle.
Because Angle did character work.
That alone puts on the top. Benoit
didn't have a character.
Benoit is like Rey Mysterio. He's in a pocket.
Yeah, and Chris Benoit didn't really have a character either. I mean,
and this is also peak Angle. This era is peak Angle in WWE.
Yeah,
even more Santo era. So yeah, that's actually easier. So all right, 2 more here. This is a good one actually. This or that. I have an answer, but I think maybe a little closer than you realize. The Rock as a Hollywood heel, Hollywood Rock, or Stone Cold Steve Austin, the 2001 heel run after 17. That's a good one. I have an answer, but
okay, I'd say
what's close for you? Oh boy.
All right, because I'd say okay, it's potential versus what we got. Personally, heel Austin, who sold out to the boss, there was a lot more potential with that.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, they never got there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say for what we got, I would take Hollywood Rock. For potential, what could have been, I would have gone with heel Austin.
So The Rock is the answer for me. But the reason The Rock's the answer for me because that was my favorite Rock run of his entire career. Albeit very, very small. But I absolutely, you asked me what was my favorite Rock run of his entire career, it is Hollywood Rock by far. Because he was goofy as fuck. He was not just a heel, he was goofy as hell. Yay, Toronto! That's where we live! Remember that whole thing?
And see, I was starting to kind of fade out at that point.
I was watching, this is all in hindsight for the record. This is all in hindsight.
Okay.
By the way, if you haven't watched that documentary on the network, wherever the hell the shit is now, the Ruthless Aggression Era Part 2, lineup of documentaries. There's a Hollywood Rock episode. Fantastic. Okay. Austin's 2001 heel run, while it did have the stink of the turn at Mania, it was funny as fuck. Because you got Austin being a heel, but being a goofball too, also doing the guitar stuff with Angle. He was too likable. That's where we got what? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I actually love that Austin run as a heel. Minus the turn itself with Vince being involved in it. But all the stuff he was doing with it in between those 6 months as champion was fun as fuck. The thing is that The Rock's Hollywood run is my favorite Rock run of all time, and I can't let that go. So Rocky wins that one for me. And finally, last one to get out of here, this or that, TNA Wrestling, which is the early X Division, or ECW, the WWE Revival.
Oh, TNA, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I'll pick here because I didn't watch either.
Well, I've only watched bits and pieces of both. But with peak TNA, you got AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, Angle.
I am interested in watching that stuff though. I thought about getting a subscription to watch the old stuff.
Yeah.
TNA.
Yeah, I watched that. TNA Plus is a great value.
Do you actually have subscribed for it too? Also, you subscribed to the TNA?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You still do?
Yeah.
Okay.
But so peak TNA had, I mean, you had all of that. I mean, all that stuff with AJ, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, Angle, those 4 guys in particular. But then you had all of that, and then whereas nobody looks back fondly on the WWE ECW. Nobody does. And
I don't. The TNA, I'll go TNA as well too. Also, only because of the fact that the little I know about it, I know I enjoy it. So TNA for me. I'll go TNA as well too. Also, so anyway, Rob, another great show. What you got going on, Rob Genius Podcast and Minus Wrestling? What's going on? Any plug?
Well, I'm okay. So it's funny. I recorded some stuff after Game 1 and Game 2.
Oh, really?
But of course, I didn't finish. So now, I might just make this a running log of the finals. Yeah. And just so maybe later on this week I might have something up. It depends on how things go with Game 4. Because if Game 4 and 5 don't go well, then I might just I might just record a 5-minute segment where I say like "fuck this shit" a bunch of times.
That was great. So that Modern Wrestling Podcast, of course, you find on Church Up Radio Network every Saturday with him, Jason, and DJ, one of my favorite wrestling podcasts, of course. And of course, you know where to find me on the X at each person 7 for Walt's Count anywhere, of course. Until next week, we get back and doing more wrestling talk later, guys.